Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
And also by the Pelvic Health Professionals membership site. If you are interested in becoming a member, I have amazing news for you. You can now join until January the 17th. That's when doors are going to close. If you're listening in real time, that's January the 17th, 2020. Visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com for more information. In that membership, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that membership today as we have our interview with Amanda McKinney. In that membership, we have monthly guest expert calls, a supportive online group, a growing library of up-to-date videos and resources, including the 8-hour online Yoga for Pelvic Health training, which is $379 all on its own. And also on top of that, monthly Q&A calls and all kinds of other resources. This membership was created so that all professionals, yoga teachers to PTs to doctors and doulas, can learn about pelvic health and serve the people they work with, especially the people who have a pelvis. Hello and welcome to 2020 if you're listening in real time, and also welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow, a mom of 3, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant who works for yoga teachers. This podcast was created for you so that you can connect to information and inspiration every single week and feel supported as you navigate this sometimes very bumpy road of being a yoga teacher and also an entrepreneur. I am so excited that I get to take you along in this journey, a little behind the scenes look of what it was like for Amanda McKinney and myself to both start a membership site in 2019. We share what we learned, how this could be used by yoga teachers wanting to focus on more online offerings, and what we are planning going forward. If you are looking for our show notes, they're over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/150. That's because we're at episode 150 today. That's amazing to me. I remember doing 4 episodes and then thinking, oh my gosh, how will I do this every single week? But thanks to our show notes writer, Crunch, who is an amazing writer and inspiration. I absolutely love following Crunch on her Instagram stories to see where she is traveling to next. Thanks to her, on our show notes page, you can find the links that we talk about along with clickable timestamps so you can easily go back to a specific topic in each and every episode. And she also gathers links that might be helpful for you going forward. So that's a huge shout out of thanks to Crunch because she is amazing and I'm so grateful for the work that she does. Speaking of grateful, I have 2 other people that I need to say thanks to. Well, one person, one company. The first person is Lauren Gibbons. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time to leave a review. Lauren said, Shannon Crow, thank you so much for all of your workshop resources and for this pelvic health community. Just got off the phone with the owner at one of the studios I teach at. We've been doing so well with numbers and interest. She wants to give me half of every Sunday for prenatal, postnatal classes and a rotating roster of workshops, including my postpartum pelvic floor workshop. Thank you so much, Lauren. This is one of my favorite messages to get when you are using the Pelvic Health Professionals membership and it is working. And by working, I mean that life gets a little easier. We niche down, we focus in, we offer specialty workshops, and for something super important like pelvic health, we see the difference that it really makes in our community and as well as to build our business. The shout out of thanks to the company is to our sponsor, Schedulicity. Let's hear our hot tip of the week from them.
Hello, Connected Yoga teachers. This is Allison with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Feng shui your yoga space by getting rid of appointment books, messy calendars, and stacks of sign-in sheets. Keep your business energy flowing with the new advanced marketing option. So, Shannon, Blake asked you what you'd like to automate, and you said everything. We agree. Now you can automate your thank you messages, birthday greetings, time to book reminders, and re-engagement discounts for people you haven't seen in a long time. Set and forget your preferences and stay even more connected with your clients. You can also promote your services and products at the time of online booking to add even more value to your clients' visits. If you're looking to attract more prosperity in your business life, add some elements of wood and water and check out advanced marketing.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity. You make my calendar feel so much more clear Every day I open my computer and then click on my Schedulicity just to see what does today hold and then what does the whole week look like. So thank you for doing that for me. And thank you also for bringing this podcast to yoga teachers. Schedulicity really makes this possible. So if you're feeling like you want to thank Schedulicity, tag them either in Facebook or Instagram and let them know that you listen to the podcast and that you like their hot tips and you like the podcast. Connected Yoga Teachers, I am super excited about today's guest. Amanda McKinney is not new to the podcast. We heard from her back in episode 112, where she talked to us about niching down to market our yoga. And Amanda has become a really close friend of mine since we first did that episode together, when she reached out and said, I think I have a topic for your podcast. And I said to her, hey, what if we do it live? Wouldn't that be fun if we did it live? And she just jumped in and said yes. And since we first spoke, what is so interesting is that we are now collaborating on different projects. So we did a 3-day challenge together. We have some big news for 2020 coming up. I can't tell you yet. We also often talk about business things that are going on. We both help yoga teachers. Amanda is a marketing coach for yoga teachers. She has a membership site which really helps yoga teachers to market their yoga. And I reach out to her a lot. She has helped me a lot, and I try and do the same for her in her business. I love how Amanda helps yoga teachers to market themselves authentically. So no slimy, salesy marketing at all. Amanda really talks about inviting people to the party. Tell people about the yoga that you offer. Really get your wording clear about what it is that you offer to your yoga students. So let's dive in, Connected Yoga Teachers, so that you can hear from both Amanda and I on what it's been like to start a membership site. And we're hoping that this inspires you to think about, is the membership model something that you might look at in the future for your own yoga business? Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, Amanda. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to be here.
So I'm excited that we get to dive right in. We've had a lot of questions, both you and I, from yoga teachers that are in both of our memberships. And they've just basically said, like, I hear questions about, oh, I've thought about starting a membership, or what the heck is a membership, or tell me about that. So I thought that we could do an episode, a little bit of behind the scenes about it. And so if you want to kick off and talk about your membership first and what got you started on that.
Sure.
I don't even know if I remember the answer to that.
That's funny. So my membership is Marketing Yoga with Confidence, and it's a membership site for yoga teachers who struggle with the marketing aspect of being a yoga teacher. Because being a yoga teacher, often you learn all the things in yoga teacher training about how to teach yoga. Very often, you don't really learn how to market yourself. So if you don't have that background, if that wasn't part of your professional career, or just knowing that through education or anything, it's often uncomfortable to market yourself. And another part of what I talk about a lot is earning money. Making money as a yoga teacher is not a bad thing. And so that is often something to work through on the mindset side as well. So those two things are really tackled in my membership. And the idea, actually, if anyone listens to me for any amount of time, they'll hear me say, listen to what your audience says. And so the idea actually came up because my dream student is a real life person that I know. And I was actually having lunch with her because she does live in my area. It is how I created this business. We were having lunch and she told me I should have a membership site. She literally said that's what I should do. And it wasn't those exact words that she said, but what she said was like, I wish you had this like bank of tutorials where I could go in and look at like how to use Instagram or how to fill in the blank, right? And I thought, she's talking about a membership site. And then she said, well, look at what else I have. And she started showing me other membership sites that she belongs to as a yoga teacher. And it's basically asana practices or meditation practices where she can just go in and get inspired or practice herself, right? Because so many yoga teachers will let their personal practice slide or whatever the case may be. So she has a few membership subscriptions and she was like, Amanda, your videos are better than theirs. Like, because immediately I went to well, I don't have the equipment, or I don't have, like, I started making excuses in my head. And she literally on her phone that day pulled up and showed me the other ones. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do have all of this. Like, I could totally do that. But at that point in time, that was not where my mind was. That was not where my business model was going. I was really focused on coaching, doing group coaching and individual coaching for yoga teachers. So I put it on my shelf and I just thought about it. But over the course of the next few months, I heard it over and over and over again from the yoga teachers that are in my audience, whether it was someone I was coaching or someone who was just following me on Instagram or Facebook. And I started hearing, do you have this tutorial? And I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to the signs. And then it was actually through talking with you that we both had this membership idea at the exact same time, two separate memberships, but we both were thinking about creating a membership. And it really was like, now's the time. And I didn't have anything. Like I literally had nothing, but the idea that my audience was asking for it was reason enough for me to figure it out. And so what I did is I just figured out, okay, what is the minimum? You know, we talk about MVP a lot, like what is the minimum viable product that I can put out there? And I literally had nothing. So I launched my membership site and said, I am welcoming in founding members who trust me enough to give me their credit card number for 1 month when I have nothing in this thing. And in exchange for, I promise I will create content for you and you get to tell me what to create. So the founding members literally told me exactly what they wanted. And then I figured out how to make it happen.
Yeah. And just so our listeners know, you say that you started off with nothing. And I just want to say, knowing you, that you also had done an online course, Intentional Instagram. And that was sort of a bonus. Like when you sign up, you'll get access to that course.
Yeah.
And then you also had been doing a video series, like a video show every single week, pre-recorded, kind of like a podcast, but through video every single week.
Yeah. So I had dabbled in the technology of what I knew I would use. So I knew I would be doing some video content. And you are totally correct. I had created a course a year ago and released it on the platform Teachable. So I already had the platform that I ended up using when I launched the membership site. I'm using Teachable currently. And so it was already there, but I didn't have any content. So if, you know, I've opened up the membership again, the people who joined the membership after it really opened, when they joined, the day they joined, they had content inside the membership, and the founding members did not have that. they had the promise that there would be something in there eventually.
Right. And so I love that you also shared that we had this idea at the same time. I remember having the conversation with you long ago saying, I'm thinking about starting this membership site, and mine maybe started in a bit of a different way, but similar. I had an online course that was 8 hours, yoga for pelvic health, and then was receiving questions. So people were sending me in questions saying, you know, what about this? What about that? And these questions were amazing. So I was either hopping on a call with them, generally paid calls, or answering their emails, which was taking my time and I wasn't getting paid for that time. But they had really great questions, or maybe there was new information out there in the pelvic health world. And I thought it'd be so great if I could add to this course. So for a long time, that's all I was thinking about doing, was updating the course.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the point where I thought, even if I update the course, it's going to be out of date as soon as I get it out there again.
Right.
And so then it was all, my main intention with it was to connect yoga teachers with pelvic health professionals. That was the first start of it. I talked with my friend Barb, and she said, no, I think what you need to do is have this across the board so all pelvic health professionals can join. And that was a little bit scary for me. I remember thinking, well, I speak yoga teacher language really well. I don't know what PTs need, or what occupational therapists need, or massage therapists, all of these other people. But it has worked really well. So we have basically 4 components to ours. The And the bonus was the course, like the 8-hour online course is in there and it's being updated with videos. Also our library of information, guest expert calls. So that's really connecting people with that guest expert information. Q&As once a month, and a community group where we can talk to each other in between. And you're right in that I also said, because I only opened this up to people who had studied with me either online or in person, hey, I want to create this thing. Who's in? And you're right that people really do have to have that amount and level of trust. I mean, they could just sign up for 1 month, but I was seeing a lot of people saying, yeah, I'm in for the year. Let's see how this goes.
Right. I think that's a really big takeaway that both of us did. And I've never seen it done like that. I don't know what made us both think about it. But like thinking, we opened it up and basically we're super open to say, we don't have it all figured out. This is brand new. You are going to help me create this. And I think there's some beauty in that. And most of, especially like all of your people came from, they have worked with you, right? Like they had purchased the 8-hour training. They had already like gone through so much of that content. And so the know, like, and trust factor was there. Most of my people had at least been following me for a while. If they had not, most of them had worked with me in a group coaching or in some sort of coaching, but there were a lot that have not. So I was really shocked with that, but they were people that have been following me for a while or someone recommended it. So that the know, like, and trust factor was there, whether it was with me or with someone else. There were, because several people came from your audience, and because you talked about it and said, I trust Amanda. And because of that, then they jumped in and helped me create it during the founding member time. So I think that's really important. If anyone's thinking about creating a membership site in and of itself, like, you think about who you want in there over, like, of course we want lots of members, right? Like the bigger the community, the more people can be helped. It's a sustainable business model, that sort of thing. But at the beginning, it is really important to have quality. And I mean, I even thought if I get 5 yoga teachers that are invested to say, yes, we're going to help you build this, I was going to be okay.
Right.
So I was really focused on the quality of yoga teachers that joined that first round for sure.
Yes. So just to back up for our listeners, in case you're like, what the heck is a membership site and how would I apply this as a yoga teacher? How is this even applicable? So I'll kind of give some things that I think of in terms of what a membership site is. And then I'd love for you to add in. So I feel like if we look at the model of Netflix, we're really familiar with that, or something like Audible. So it's basically where someone is paying you either monthly or annually for some type of content. And that content does not have to be videos. I remember you and I having a conversation about somebody who basically was sending a PDF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember who that is, or we'd give them a shout out. But
yeah.
And we have obviously since listened to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of research on membership sites. But there was one example that whoever it was, I cannot remember the example, the person or the membership site, but it was basically they did all this content and found out that it was a spreadsheet that their members cared about the most. And so they whittled it down. They were creating all this content, and then they actually whittled it down to one spreadsheet they sent a month.
Right. Because a lot of the time we think, oh, this will be helpful. This will be helpful. When you said it, like, you got your members in there and started creating the content for what they wanted. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I sent out a survey to say, what are your questions? And I'm still working away on those amazing questions. And people still are sending me questions. So it's really fueled by the people. So if we were to take this as a yoga teacher, let's think of a yoga teacher who has maybe an in-person business right now, and they want to move to online, and they've looked at courses, but they have a strong student base. And maybe one of the struggles they're hearing from students is, I wish I could take you home at night so that I could do this Shavasana with you because I fall asleep so well. I could really use this.
Right. I think the key is really what you just touched on, which is, what do the students ask for? And 9 times out of 10, it's what can I do at home? What can I do in between your classes or in between private sessions? And that's the thing, that should be the moment. And not every yoga teacher needs a membership site. Let's be clear on that. Not everyone needs it, not everyone wants it. But if you're thinking about it, that's how you would think about what could I do to help my students in between sessions, in between classes. What is that? And they'll tell you what they want if you
Yeah.
just listen. It just takes us listening to figure that out.
So some people call this like an online yoga studio. And I've heard some studios say, oh my gosh, well, if our students start doing online yoga, they'll stop coming to class. So do you want to address what you think about that?
Yes, I'd love to. First and foremost, so I get this a lot. I'll have yoga teachers say, it's just not the same. I don't want to offer online because it's not the same as in person. And you are exactly right. Like 100%, it is not the same, but there are different types of people and different types of seasons of life. So many yoga teachers have people that come into class that are working in the corporate world, but they travel a lot. That person that's traveling, to have something that they can take with them, they can't take the private yoga teacher or the yoga teacher from the studio class with them on a corporate trip, right? Like that's not possible. So for them to have a way to practice yoga in a hotel room or on the plane, a meditation that they're, can listen to on that flight, that is so powerful. And it will have them paying for more private sessions or going to more classes when they are in person. So it builds both businesses when we think about what is the best experience for that person. And it's a different season. Like that person might not always be a traveler. So then they'll come back and they'll be going to more classes. Or there just could be limitations, right? There's certain times in life, or we could be differently abled where it's like, I can't leave my house right now. I don't
Right.
have that option. And that person deserves yoga too. So I hesitate I hesitate with my words because I could probably be too strong with them. But I really try and help yoga teachers understand the power of online classes because yes, it's different, but it's so impactful. Like don't take that away from people if you're worried that they're not going to come to your in-person class. There's just so many ways in which that can be so helpful. And it often leads to more people coming to class as well, whether it's a studio class or a private session or whatever it is that you're trying to grow. There's different people, and there's people that will never, ever, ever want an online class, that they will always only practice in person. And that's great too.
Mm-hmm. I want to address another side of it. It's not like you put your offering online and then everyone finds it. That's not the way the
Right.
internet works. You still
No.
have to market your yoga classes online, or if you have a membership, there are lots of different decisions to make. Maybe we can get into some of that because I think that can hold people back if they think, oh my gosh, but there's all the tech. Like, how would I then record myself doing yoga and how would I share it? And let's start with the different decisions you and I have made in how we create that content. So when I create small snippets of movement or breath practice, I'm laughing because my videos are terrible right now. And I'm okay with that. Like
they're not terrible. They're not terrible. I want to just touch on this real quick. They're not terrible. I have seen them. They are not terrible. And here's the thing. We are more critical on ourselves than anyone else is. The students who receive your breath technique are just amazed and excited that they have you at home to watch in that moment. It doesn't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect.
It's so true. My video editor said to me, and that's the other thing, when I do the short ones, I don't have a video editor doing those. I'm trying to learn how to do it myself on iMovie. So I literally do it with my phone. I have a wireless mic that I use thanks to Shelly. I'll try and link to Shelly's great video where she talks about this wireless mic. So I do it with my phone, and I had to really figure out the tech. Just like anyone else, my phone was different than other phones that other people use to do this. So I had to figure it out with my own phone. I've got it figured out now. I do these short videos, edit them in iMovie, and then I upload all of my content into Thinkific, which is an online course or membership platform. So do you want to talk about your process, Amanda?
Sure. So I do basically the same thing. I typically record all of mine on my computer instead of my phone, just because it's more convenient for me. I do a lot of stuff on my phone for social media, but I don't do the content that goes into the membership. I use my computer and I sit and I talk because I'm not moving. I'm not doing an asana practice at all. Like that is not what I teach. I am looking at the camera, teaching about marketing, and I often have a lot of screenshots of me showing how to do something on your website or on Instagram or on Facebook, whatever it is. So I then have to do a little bit more editing, which I do all of my own editing still. At some point, I will have to outsource that. But for right now, I'm still doing my own, and it's totally possible. The internet can teach you anything, just so you know. We have a Google search bar that is our best friend, right? And so I just learned, and it's not perfect. It will totally be better when it's produced and, I have a video editor and all of this, but the way I teach is better than perfect. And the yoga teachers who watch my stuff, not one person has complained and said like, the sound quality was so bad, I had to quit the membership.
Right.
That's just not what I've heard so far. Now, maybe someone says like, hey, Amanda, I could hear the fan on, like that's fine. I just won't have the fan on next time.
Right.
So I've learned along the way, but I upload mine and I use iMovie. I should say I do edit everything in iMovie. So that is, I use my camera on my computer, upload it to iMovie, and then edit, and then upload it to Teachable, which is the platform I use. And it's also course or membership. It is primarily a course software system. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky in my perspective of like, I want to use the word membership, but Teachable doesn't use the word membership. So it's like, enroll in this course. That can be confusing to someone who thinks, I thought it was a membership, but I can't change that word, right? Because
Right.
It's Teachable that's doing it. So there's a few other things like that I've learned along the way, but currently I am using Teachable right now.
And I think the two other ones that you and I have talked about are Kajabi and Member Vault. I don't know of any others.
Yeah, those are the other two. And I'm currently evaluating my process. I believe that I will be switching simply because, and this is so important, right? Like I didn't even know what questions to think about before I started a membership. What I thought is, can someone enroll? Can someone get in? Will they have their own unique login? Because that would be important for a membership. And the answer was yes. And I already had Teachable, so I knew the platform because I had created the course on there. So I thought, I'm just going to stay with Teachable. And I love Teachable. It's a great platform. If someone is thinking about creating a course, I would say both Teachable and Thinkific are amazing places to start. I don't have anything bad to say about either one because we've experienced both. Like I am in your membership, so I experienced Thinkific as a student. And I think both of them have great user experiences. But for me, there have been things that have come up because of my experience with my members it's making me think that I will change.
Right.
But I never would have known before I started.
And this week you heard my excitement. I had the opposite. Thinkific just introduced communities. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like a birthday gift of a week from Thinkific. Although already I emailed them and said, I wish it did this. And they're like, it's in the beginning phase. We will add to it as we go. And thanks for your feedback. So I think that a lot of the time I hear people get stuck on what the tech is of it. Now, when you said you record on your computer, do you use a webcam or the computer camera?
I use a webcam now. I didn't start with that. So I started with the camera that's on my Mac laptop. So I do have a Mac, and it was really clear. And I was totally fine and happy with it. And then through circumstances, right? Like I ended up with a webcam that because my husband had it at work and I didn't even know he had it and all these things like, but it was his and he brought it home one day. And I was like, hey, I want to try that. And then I was like, oh, I love this. So I did end up getting a webcam for myself. I purchased that and I can totally send you the information on that so we can link to it. But I didn't start with that. And it I don't know if anyone even noticed, if that makes sense. I noticed because I could go between my camera and the webcam and see. I can also have a wider view and there's just some few things that I could do. So I do have that now. I have a webcam that I use, but I can always use my computer as well. I like to teach my students use what you have and figure out what you need.
Right. That's so good. And start somewhere. Like the videos that I was saying, I am kind of laughing at them. Like I started to realize, oh no, I have to take the video this way. Like I need to take it horizontally. Like I figured all these things out the hard way. So I think our listeners can do that. And also, it might be that you're not even doing video. You might decide, okay, I'm going to do audio, especially if someone just wants to listen to something. So it could be more of an audio. Maybe there's a PDF that goes along with it. And maybe this is something that your students have really been asking for.
Right. I mean, I record everything in video, number one, because I enjoy video, meaning that there's more of a connection. I had to learn to enjoy. So I don't want it to sound like I was like, I started that way. No, I had to learn to enjoy the video process. But I think there's a connection there. And I also show so many things of how to. So it just makes more sense to have video. However, I say all of that. I did not anticipate this, but my members asked me for the audio because they often listen to it when they're driving or when they're on a walk, which I think is amazing because that's like me walking with my friends. I feel like it's so cool when people listen to anything, whether it's my podcast or the membership stuff when they're on a walk. Cause I'm like, that's like I get to walk with them and taking walks is so much fun. So I ended up stripping out the audio after I edit the video and also putting that into Teachable as well.
Did you make it then so that this is a really technical question now that people can download the audio or just that it's there and they can take it with them? Because that's the next thing I was thinking about, if people could download the video or download the audio, then they have access to it forever. And there's a piece of it that is like, well, the membership you're supposed to have access when you're paying your membership.
Right. As of right now, it is not downloadable. The PDFs that go along with every lesson are downloadable, but I haven't allowed the video or the audio to be downloaded. So I say that I'll have to go check, but I don't think I have. I don't think I have done that for the reason that you just said. People join and leave a membership. So I've talked about this before. If you're a yoga studio owner, you know this too. It's called Churn, and people will not be a member forever, right? So we have to anticipate these things, and you get content when you are a member. So that when you pay for it, that's when you get that information. So that's where I am right now. It's not that I don't want people to be able to have access on their phone when they're a member. It's just if you download it, you have it forever.
Right. Exactly. I think it's just one of those tricky technical questions that I wanted to ask you because I'm in the same boat. I let people download the PDFs. And I mean, the way phones are now and the way people have their phone plans, a lot of the time they can listen anywhere they go. People tell me that they listen to me while they're driving, but I don't have the audio. So I think that might be something that I look at doing because I want people to be driving safely and not be like trying to look at their phone.
Right. And I never would have known, and I don't, like you and I haven't even talked about it. We wouldn't have known this if we didn't just get started. So it took several members, and shout out to the members who communicate, because I would have never thought, oh, I'm going to add another file. I don't want to overload anyone. So I would have never known had they not asked. And all the members were super supportive and saying like, I didn't go backwards with that because those files are kind of done. They're off my computer because files take up so much space. So I have this process and I was like, I'll do it going forward.
Yes.
And I'll do the best I can to go back retroactively later. But right now, I'm just going to go forward with all the content because the founding members got content a lot. So
Right.
when I was creating a lot of content for them so that the next time I opened, there was content. But now I just do one chunk of lessons per month.
Yes. And just on that topic, one of the things that you and I learned from listening to other people who have memberships is that people can also get very overwhelmed by content and they can feel like they're getting left behind. So there are ways to, in both Teachable and Thinkific, I'm sure for Kajabi and Member Vault as well, you can drip your content out. So that just means when someone first joins, maybe they can only see part of the content and then they're not overwhelmed thinking like, oh my gosh, how will I ever get through this?
Mm-hmm. Right. It's a tricky thing because some people want it. They want it all. Whether you're creating a course or a membership, there will be people that say, can I buy all of it right now? I want everything right now because I'm about to go away for a weekend and I want to watch it all, right? Like you'll just have those people and you have to decide like what is the best for you, your sanity as you're running a business. And so if there's a yoga teacher out there that's like, I'm going to create a membership site and I'm going to, like to your example was the Shavasana at the end, right? So they're only going to do, some really sweet Shavasana recordings. And that's most likely going to be audio only, unless you want a video of someone just laying there.
Right.
That's most likely going to be audio. So does that person need to receive 45 audio clips or just 5, right? Like they're, they might not need all of it. That's one example. But for my example is I have every bit of content that I've created. And at the point that the person joins, like they get access to it. So they can binge listen or watch or choose to go one step at a time. And so I do, and this may change because I'm so new in the membership. Like there's a lot of content, but it's not hundreds, right? When there's hundreds of tutorials, that might not be the best answer.
Right. One other thing that I'm just thinking of now is that we haven't touched on that some people make a customized site. So they don't use this third-party platform. We had Bree Johnson on the podcast. She has Heart and Bones Yoga, and she has a customized site, and she built that out after a long time of seeing, I'm sure, what people would want as well. I spoke with another person recently who has an online course who hired a videographer, hired a video editor, and she's been selling that course for a very long time and has not made her money back from all that she invested. And I would say it's really better to start with something very small and learn exactly like you said, learn what your audience is asking for. I'm thinking about our pelvic health professionals. I was all gung-ho, ready to go right into pelvic health information. And the majority of people, our very first Q&A call wanted to know all about hosting a workshop. So I was like, okay, I have tons of information on that. And I would have gone off on this whole other tangent of what information to put in that workshop, but they wanted to know the nuts and the bolts. And I shared my handout with them. I was like, I can share my handout, my outline, talk about it for a whole call.
Yeah. Right. I think it's really important. It's it's so hard. I'm going to say this is really important and really simple. It is not easy to do this. I want to make that very clear. I think it is really important for us to remember that whatever we are teaching, we are, whether we like the word or not, we are more of an expert in that area. We have to step way back. And I'm going to use this as an example because this blew my mind, right? When I first started my business, I didn't just focus on yoga teachers. But then when I finally niched down to yoga teachers, I thought, oh my gosh, I get to teach so much. This is so exciting. Where should I start? And so I started creating these freebies left and right. None of them were taking off, right? None of them. And I thought, why is this not working? And finally, someone asked a question and I listened because sometimes it's just hard to listen to our audience, even though it's right there. We're just going in the day to day. I finally listened and it was, do I need a business card?
Right.
And I thought, I have to go that basic down to a business card? It had never crossed my mind to talk about a business card. Never once. Because my brain goes to email funnels. Like, that's not where to start. That is nowhere near where to start. But that's where my brain goes to, oh, but I can teach this, and this. So to the yoga teacher who's thinking, should I have a membership site or maybe a course or whatever it is, like, you have to figure out what the base level is that you have to teach and offer that. And it's not easy for us to do ourselves. Like, there's no chance, 0% chance I ever would have talked about a business card without having my yoga teacher ask that question.
Right. Exactly. And we oftentimes, I think we get confused and we think that we're our own ideal client, and we're often not, especially if we've come to the point where we're teaching this thing. So I like that we step back. So you had sent out a survey to your founding members. I had done the same. Mm-hmm. Are there other ways to hear back from founding members, or before, like, let's say there's a yoga teacher and they're thinking about opening a membership site? Mm-hmm. Who would they send that survey to, or who would they talk to?
Right. So I think before the survey, I'm just going to talk to you, dear yoga teacher, right now. So if you're sitting there thinking, this sounds cool, I like this idea of a course or a membership site, I want to explore this, then I want you to journal a little bit about this and see where your brain is taking you. Like, I would love to have a course on this, so that you know what your brain is thinking about right now. And then I want you to really start listening to your students. And I want you to listen very specifically. Are they saying what you are wanting to create, or are they saying something totally different? And it's oftentimes really hard for us, because I created a course a year ago and I was like, yoga teachers ask about Instagram all the time, I'm going to create this course. So the course did okay. It's a great resource for members. It is an amazing resource now. It didn't sell right away. And I think the reason why is because I wanted to teach on Instagram, because that's what I was getting questions on. But it wasn't what yoga teachers needed. Like, there was a mindset shift that had to change before all of that could happen on Instagram. So what I should have recognized was, yes, they are asking about Instagram, but where are they getting hung up? And it was, I don't want to be Instagram famous. Right. That's a mindset part. That is not how to post on Instagram. But I thought in my head, I want to teach about Instagram, and I have all this information of how they can use Instagram. And so I wish I had done what I'm saying right now. Think about what you want to teach, but then be really open to the possibilities of it being totally different.
Right.
To what that is. So I think listening is the first thing. You can only listen if people are talking to you. So I'm gonna need you to have people talking to you. And remember back to when I talked about how I had this idea, it had nothing to do, I didn't have the idea. It was not my idea at all. It was the yoga teacher that I took to lunch, right? Because let me tell you, I will take yoga teachers to lunch every day of the week, every day of the year, because I learn more during that coffee or during that lunch, just having a conversation. I don't have any agenda at all when I go into things like that. And I walk away with the next offering, right? Like, I walked away with the idea of a membership site. So opening up those conversations. And then if you get to the point where you're like, I still don't know. I'm listening, Amanda, I'm talking to people and I still don't know. And you're like, I just want to create a survey. I want you to really think about how those are worded, because I don't want you influencing what the outcome is. Right. And that is really hard not to do with a survey. Like, it is near impossible. I try to outsource surveys as much as possible, because me writing it for my audience is not a good idea.
Right. Because you're so right. And when we have a conversation with people, it's very different. You and I have a mutual friend, Kate, who's in both of our memberships. Huge shout out to Kate.
Yay.
I got to meet up with her in person recently, and we were at this conference where there were a lot of people who were not yoga teachers. And she came up to me near the end of the conference and was saying, "Oh my gosh, all of these people are telling me over and over again what their struggle is." And she's like, "Their struggle is that they're feeling like they're empty. They need to fill their cup." They kept saying these exact words. And so she was like, "That's my jam. That's what I do. I fill people's cup." And she was like, "It's so easy to then talk about what you do when you have an audience there that's really needing what you do." So I saw her go home, and then I saw her posts going up on Instagram and Facebook, like, fill your cup, fill your cup. It was perfect. So that's exactly right with the wording that comes out. Like, she sat down with people and she was just having conversations with no expectation that they would be her ideal person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think sometimes just setting that intention of like, I think I want to do this thing. Okay. I'm going to write it down in my journal. I think I want to do this thing. And then being open to whatever that thing becomes, because I can tell you this, like, it will not be what you think it is.
No.
I thought I was going to be creating so much content because that's what I want to do. I want to give. Every single one of the members, when I reached out to the founding members and said, okay, the doors are about to open again, because I do an open and closed enrollment, which is something we probably should talk about in this episode too. And when I was about to do that, I said, what is your favorite part about the membership? And I just left that. I did not give options, right? Because giving options then puts the idea in someone's head. So I just said, what's your favorite part? Every single one of them said the fact that I am answering questions.
Right.
And I was like, well, I hope they like my content too. And they do. They absolutely said the video tutorials are great. But what I never would have guessed was that it was my time and my personal videos back to them. So when they ask a question and I jump on and say, okay, here's how you can do this, which is the easiest way for me to answer rather than typing. It takes me way longer to type than it does to talk. And I like talking to people, so it was easier for me to do that. That became the thing that they enjoyed the most. And I just would have never known that. And so I think it's important to, before you have the thing, put the intention out there of, I want to create this thing and I'm open to whatever it turns out to be, because going forward, I know that under no circumstances does me being removed. That's not an option. Not that it was ever going to be, but I would have someone else create content before I would be removed from answering questions.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Oh, that's good. And you're reminding me, I just had a conversation with a person on my team who's not even involved in the membership site at this point. And I was saying, like, the one overwhelming thing is all of the questions that I'm now getting. Like, I feel like I have endless content and I don't want them to feel like I'm not getting to their question. And she had this great idea of, what if it was all audio and you had some guest experts answering those questions so you could get through them quite quickly. And she's like, then you could just do this snippet of audio. Like, here's this. And she said, you could put it out as a podcast, or she had all these other ideas. And I'm not sure how it will come through, but you're right in that you, over and over again, you and I are just saying the same thing. You cannot know what you're going to create. Like, even if you guess at, like, this is my idea, you want to find the most efficient thing. Like, I know my audience, they're super busy. They're busy all week serving people, usually one-on-one with their pelvic health needs. And so they need information in the quickest way possible.
Right. It's so true. It's just important to keep, whether it's before or during, all of that is just listening to what the people say, whether that's one person or 50 or 500, right? Like, it's listening and really keeping that at the forefront, because if you can do that, people will stay longer. People will continue to tell other people. The marketing gets easier because you've got other people that then market the thing, whether it's a yoga class in your local area or a membership site. It's the same thing. Word of mouth is still going to be the number one source of people coming into whatever you're offering.
Yes. So you had mentioned two things that I want to come back to. One was churn. So this idea that people will decide to leave, and don't be heartbroken and think like, oh my gosh, that's just a natural thing of having a yoga studio, having yoga students, and also having a membership site.
Right. And it's super, super, super important not to take it personally.
Yes.
Very important. So something that I actually did before I opened up, or maybe right as I opened up the founding member site, is I wrote the email that I would send to someone who was leaving.
Oh, that's good.
I wrote it before I had a person's name. I did not want to get wrapped up in the, oh, Shannon's leaving my membership site. I'm crying. What the heck did I do wrong? Like, right? We automatically think it's me. I did something wrong. At least for me. I can't speak for everyone, but I automatically think I did something to offend someone, or I could have done something better, right? Maybe I didn't do something wrong, but I could have done it better. So what I did is I just wrote the email and said, I'm so sorry to see you go. I totally understand if it's life, if you didn't use the membership site. I mean, how many things have we canceled? I've canceled subscriptions
Right.
all the time. Like, it wasn't the company. Maybe it was, right? Maybe it was the company, but most of
Netflix
the
is not
time-
like, where did Amanda go?
Right. Yes. No, Netflix does not care. Netflix does not care. But I would guarantee you, because I haven't ever canceled Netflix, I bet that the day I do cancel Netflix, I get an email that says, why did you leave? Right. And so mine is really personal. I'm sure Netflix would be not as personal because I don't, have a face to associate with Netflix, but mine is personal that I reach out personally right now and say, and this is one of the things, I can't figure out how to make this an automated email and teachable. I think in a true membership site that like a platform that's created for membership sites, I think they will have this option. I don't think Teachable does, because typically someone enrolls in a course, they pay for it, and the course, they just have access to that course forever. So there's not a leaving, if that makes sense.
Right.
So for me, I send a personal email that says, I'm so sorry to see you go. I hope you enjoyed your time in the membership. I would love to hear if there is something that I could have done differently, or if any ideas happened. I just kind of worded this way, and I didn't make it a formal survey. I think I could have. I think I easily could have. And maybe I go that route going forward. But so far, it's just been a personal email, and I get a response back every time that says, I wasn't using it right now. It was so good. Everything you did was wonderful, but I just wasn't using it enough. So for me, what that says is that person in that particular season of life was not using it, but it does tell me that they weren't using it. So I've got to figure out how to make this even easier to use. Every time I hear that, I think, how can I make this easier? Because if it's easy to use, more people use it on a regular basis. Now, I hope that as the numbers go up, the churn number goes up. I've estimated about 10%. I don't know yet. I don't have enough time in my membership to really gauge where that's going to be. Usually it's between 5 and 10% with open and close from what I can tell. But I'm taking a guess right now. But in my estimation, those are the numbers I use. And I'm hopeful that as my numbers go up, the churn numbers are going to go up. And I'm hopeful that I will actually get feedback to make it better.
Right.
Like, I actually hope that someone is able to email me back and say, actually, I left because I didn't get a receipt every month for when the payment went through. And that really drove me crazy. That is like, yes, I have a way to make it better. Until I get that, I can't do anything to make it better other than do everything I can to make it as user-friendly as possible.
Right. You're making me think that for a while now, I've been considering what would it be like if I reach out to the people who aren't as engaged in my membership. So that's something that could work into that. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is the idea that both you and I have chose to close our doors. So it's open at different times, not for a very long time, and then the doors are closed and you have to sign up for a wait list. I know I did it because launching and marketing all takes a tremendous amount of energy. And I wanted to just close the doors and be like, all right, we're sitting here in the membership together and I'm just creating content for these people. Now, saying that, I started to already look at my calendar and think, when is the next open? And what do I have to do leading up to that? So do you want to chat about your feelings on this?
Yes. And I have the same feelings. Launching something, opening the doors to something. All yoga teachers know this as well. When you have a workshop, a special class series or something, like all of a sudden you have to market more. And you're like, oh, it feels like I'm saying the same thing every day. And to you, dear yoga teacher, I would say that means you're doing it right. So keep going. We always have to say the same thing over and over, like a broken record, when we're really in the heavy launch mode. So if you have, like you run a teacher training or you have a workshop series, like there is a time where registration has to close, right? Like you can't just keep that open because these things have to close. And during those, like it just takes so much energy. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. And you and I both listened to so many podcasts and read so many research on, do we keep it open? Do we not keep it open? All the time. And I'm here to say there are benefits to both sides of this. So if you decide, I want it to always be open, then go for it. If that feels right to you, then go for it. Now, what I will encourage you to do is pick certain times of the year that you will offer something on top of the membership so that you are incentivized to market heavier a few times a year. So maybe it's not as heavy as our open and closed. So to explain that, like it's literally open and closed. So it's not open all the time. Like I have a 2-week window where my launch or my membership is open for enrollment a few times a year. And so during those 2 weeks, I do nothing else but answer questions. By the way, listen to my podcast episodes on these because I did a behind the scenes on mine, which was quite insightful. And I would, because what it does is it encourages you to increase your marketing so that you can have waves of new members coming in. If you're always open, again, there's benefits to this because every day of the year you could gain new recurring revenue, and that's amazing, but you've got to find a system. You cannot rely on, I think I'll promote it twice a week. Like that is not going to work.
No.
You're going to have a system. You're going to have something going where it's ongoing all the time, meaning a marketing system. So you're going to have to be really careful with that because it does take so much energy if you're always trying to sell that thing.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I now looking back, I wish that I would have known, okay, a little more time leading up to a shorter launch time because I had launched mine for 4 weeks the last time, which was insane. And I had to just I told Amanda, I'm just going to do it crappy for the first 2 weeks of this because life has happened and I couldn't just clear my schedule. We had some stuff going on. I needed to travel and some family stuff going on. So that was interesting. And then also following the launch, that would be another great time to take. Okay, I'm going to have a really light week.
Yes.
Following.
Yes. And I would if you can link to my behind the scenes episodes, please do. Because I talk about all of that. Because what I did kind of poorly on planning. I did really good for the launch weeks. My 2 open weeks, I was pretty open. My schedule was open. I didn't have a lot of meetings. But the 2 weeks before, I did not plan well. And that's when it was way heavier because that's when all the things were actually being done in preparation for the 2 weeks. But I did do really good the week after my cart close date. I was super light. So I did really well for the after part.
Right. Live and learn, all the things we would do again. It was funny. I was talking with someone who recently did a launch and she said to me, did you plan to do nothing else but your launch? I was like, no, but next time I will.
Yeah. It's really important to think about that, regardless of what it is that you're marketing. But just because, like you said, it takes so much energy and you want to be available. So figuring out what's right for your people. I mean, that's really important too. Also, when I looked at, okay, what's better for me, open and closed, or should I keep it open all the time? I thought about my audience first. That first and foremost, I thought about my audience. And I really thought there's pros and cons to both. I actually don't think that there's going to be a preferred method for a yoga teacher, at least that I know right now. So then I thought, what's better for me?
Right.
And that's how I chose for mine. And I think you did very similar. Now, again, we are so early in this process, and I learned so much from opening the membership twice. Let's talk about this again in a year.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have a whole other bucket of lessons that we learned. And so if the best advice I think we can give on this podcast episode is, if you think it's an idea, give it some thought, put it out into the universe and see if that's really something that you want to do. If you are all in, if you're like, yes, I want to do this, and yes, my audience wants it, all the things are aligning, and you're like, I think I'm just going to go for it, then I say go and figure it out as you go. Don't try to figure it all out before you open. You'll never open the membership.
Yes, it's scary. I remember feeling like, well, I'm not really ready, because I don't think you ever feel ready. It's probably like having children. You just can't know what you're doing until you do it. You can't prepare.
Right. But I can say that keeping it as simple as possible is going to save your sanity.
Yes.
So I went with a platform that I already knew. So did you, right?
Yeah.
We knew these platforms. So is Teachable the best platform for my membership right now? I don't think so. I'm exploring other options, but you know what? It was great for me to start because I didn't have to learn that technology. That was one less thing I had to do. And I used what I knew. I was already experienced with videos, so I launched with videos. You already had a course that you were going to break down. You already had that, so you used what you had. I think keeping it as simple as possible at the beginning is what makes it work.
Yes, I totally agree. I'm sure that there are many ideas out there that yoga teachers have, and it'd be fun to see them share in the comments of our show notes page. Like, ooh, I have this idea, or maybe you already have a membership site.
Yes.
And post the link there so that other people can kind of check out what it looks like as well. There are tons of ideas, tons of resources. I'll try and also find a couple of my favorite podcasts about membership sites. To link in there, and I'll definitely link to your behind the scenes because it was great to listen to those as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Amanda.
This was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Well-connected yoga teachers, how was that? I want to hear from you. What was your key takeaway? Is there any little snippet that you learned today that you are going to bring into your own yoga business? Amanda has lots of amazing insight. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me, Amanda. And also, thank you for the many Voxer messages, Instagram, phone calls, Zoom chats. We find a way to keep each other accountable in our businesses, that is for sure. I will have a link to Amanda's membership. I know hers has a wait list right now, so if you're interested in how you can market as a yoga teacher, her group is amazing for that. So I will make sure that there's a link for that in our show notes. And if you are interested in learning more about pelvic health, the Pelvic Health Professionals membership site is open. Doors do close Friday, January 17th, 2020, if you're listening in real time. I'm not sure when the doors will open again for the Pelvic Health Professionals membership site. I was looking at further into the year, maybe even midway into 2020. Not sure yet, but I do know that it is very likely that the price will go up. So right now, the membership is $25 per month or $250 per year right now. And what's amazing is that even just the 8-hour online training, the Yoga for Pelvic Health training, sells for $379. So if you paid for the year and all you did was that training in there, you would get a great deal. I like to tell yoga teachers it's like Netflix for pelvic health, only better. And if you are interested in learning more about Yoga for Pelvic Health, I have 2 training dates. March 6th, 7th, and 8th, I will be in Bermuda. I would love for you to join me there in the sunshine. Make sure you allow time before and after to explore and see things around Bermuda. It is absolutely beautiful. Also September 19th and 20th in Meaford, Ontario. All of the information for that is on the connectedyogateacher.com website under trainings and events. Thank you to our Connected Yoga Teacher team, Suzanne, Crunch, Nick, and Sinead for making today's episode possible. And also thank you for taking care of our Connected Yoga Teachers in the Facebook group. And a huge thank you to you, dear listener. 1, without you, this podcast wouldn't be possible. And 2, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing out in the world. By signing up to become a yoga teacher, you have dug in to your own study, your own personal practice, and your own svadhyaya. And then you are carrying that out into the world and allowing other people to come into this place of awareness and mindfulness. It is a beautiful offering that you are giving to the world. So I want to know what you will be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, to your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can continue to share the yoga that lights you up.